borrowed keys, nobody thinks twice about. It happens 1,000 times a day in this country. A friend hands you the keys to his truck so you can move a couch across town. Your wife asks you to take her car to the airport because yours is in the shop. Your dad lets you borrow the SUV for the weekend road trip. You toss the keys in your pocket, climb behind the wheel of a car that is not yours, and drive off without a second thought. And almost nobody, not one driver in 100, stops to ask the question that could decide everything if those flashing lights ever appear in the rearview mirror. What happens legally when you are pulled over in a vehicle that does not belong to you? Whose ticket is it? Whose insurance covers it? Whose car can be searched and whose rights are on the line? The answer is more complicated than you think, and the stakes are higher than almost any driver realizes. Tonight, I am going to walk you through exactly what the law says, exactly what the officer is checking, and exactly what you need to know before you ever climb into a borrowed driver's seat again. Subscribe so the next time someone tosses you their keys, you already know what you are agreeing to. Chapter 1. A Saturday afternoon favor. Let us call him Marcus. Marcus is 32 years old. He works in IT. He is a careful driver, no tickets in 8 years, the kind of guy who comes to a full 3 count at every stop sign. On a Saturday afternoon, his best friend Eric called him in a panic. Eric's mother had been admitted to the hospital across the state, and Eric needed to get there fast. His own car had a dead battery. Could Marcus drive him? Marcus said yes without thinking. But there was a small problem. Eric was already on the highway, 2 hours ahead in a borrowed rideshare. Marcus had to drive Eric's truck out to meet him at the hospital instead. The truck was registered to Eric, insured under Eric's policy, full of Eric's belongings. Marcus had never driven it before in his life. Marcus did the favor anyway. He grabbed Eric's spare key from the porch, climbed into a truck he had never sat in, adjusted the seat, adjusted the mirrors, and pulled out into traffic. 3 exits down the interstate, he heard a small pop, felt a slight wobble, and looked in the rearview mirror to see what he did not want to see. Red and blue lights. The tail light of a truck he did not own had just gone out. And every assumption Marcus had made about the rest of his afternoon was about to be tested. Chapter 2. The first thing the officer actually checks. When an officer pulls over a vehicle, the first computer check he runs is on the license plate, not the driver. He does this before he even gets out of his cruiser, often before you have finished pulling over. That license plate tells him a story, and the story has a name on it that may or may not match the face he is about to see in the driver's window. What the plate tells him in those first 30 seconds is 4 things. The name of the registered owner of the vehicle, whether the registration is current and valid, whether the vehicle has been reported stolen anywhere in the country, whether the registered owner has any active warrants, suspensions, or flags. This is where driving someone else's car becomes immediately different from driving your own, because the officer walks up to your window already knowing the car is not yours. He has a name in his head, and that name is not on your driver's license. The very first sentence out of his mouth after the standard greeting will almost always be the same question. Whose car is this? And how you answer that question in the first 10 seconds of the stop sets the tone for the entire encounter. Chapter 3. The question that decides everything. The question of whose car is this seems casual, almost friendly, but it is not casual. The officer is doing 2 things at once when he asks it, and most drivers only realize one of them. You need to understand both before you ever borrow another vehicle. The 2 things the officer is doing with that question are these. He is checking whether your answer matches the name already on his screen. He is checking whether your explanation makes sense for the situation. He is also watching your body language as you answer for signs of stolen vehicle indicators. He is listening for keywords like, I just borrowed it, I do not know the owner, my friend let me have it. The correct answer is simple, calm, and short. The car belongs to a friend or a spouse or a family member, and you have permission to drive it. That is the entire answer. You do not need to explain the favor. You do not need to give the owner's life story. You do not need to apologize for not being the registered name. Confidence and clarity are the entire game in that first sentence, because the officer is comparing your tone to 100 stolen vehicle stops he has done before. And the calm, honest answer almost never matches the pattern he is looking for. Chapter 4. The insurance question. Most people get wrong. Here is where it gets complicated, and here's where most drivers learn something painful the hard way. When you drive someone else's car, the insurance situation is not what you think it is. There is a phrase you need to memorize before you ever borrow a vehicle again, and the phrase is permissive. It is the legal concept that decides whether an accident in a borrowed car becomes a small problem or a financial disaster. Permissive use in the United States generally works like this. The vehicle owner's insurance is the primary coverage when you drive their car with permission. Your own insurance, if you have it, becomes secondary coverage that fills in gaps. If the owner has minimum coverage and you cause a major accident, you can be personally sued. If you drove without permission, the owner's insurance can deny the claim entirely. This is the part that catches good people off guard. You can be a careful driver with full coverage on your own car, climb into your brother's borrowed truck, get into a serious accident that is your fault, and discover that your brother's policy only covers $50,000 of damages while the other driver's hospital bill is $200,000. The remaining $150,000 becomes a lawsuit, and the lawsuit lands on your name first, your brother's name second, and your relationship with your brother last. Permissive use is not optional knowledge, it is survival knowledge. Chapter 5. When the officer asks to search car. This is the part of the borrowed vehicle situation that almost nobody understands until they live it. If an officer asks to search a car you do not own, the law of consent works very differently than if it were your own vehicle. The Supreme Court has decided multiple cases on this exact question, and the rules are clearer than most drivers think. What the law actually says about searching a borrowed car comes down to 4 points. As the driver, you have the right to refuse consent to search the vehicle you are operating. Your refusal protects only the parts of the car you have a reasonable expectation of privacy in. The owner of the vehicle, even if absent, retains separate rights over locked or private compartments. If the officer searches anyway and finds something, the legal challenge depends on whose property it was in. What this means in plain English is simple. You should still say the same sentence you would say in your own car. Officer, I do not consent to any searches. Those words matter even more in a borrowed vehicle because if the officer searches anyway and finds something that belongs to the owner now has standing to challenge the search in court. But if you said yes, even casually, that consent erases the owner's challenge along with yours. Your one word can cost 2 people their case. Chapter 6. The hidden trap of the glove box and trunk. Borrowed cars come with borrowed contents. You did not pack the glove box. You did not load the trunk. You did not put whatever is under the passenger seat there. And yet, the moment you were pulled over, every object in that vehicle is your problem until the officer figures out otherwise. This is the trap that ends more borrowed car stops badly than any other. There are 4 common scenarios that turn quickly when officers find unexpected contents. An unregistered firearm in the glove box that belongs to the owner, not to you. A controlled medication without a label that belongs to a family member, not to you. A small amount of marijuana in a state where it is illegal, left there by the owner long ago. An open alcohol container under the passenger seat from a tailgate weeks earlier. In every one of these cases, the law generally requires the prosecutor to prove that you knew about the item and exercised control over it. That sounds protective until you realize the prosecutor only needs to convince a jury, and juries tend to believe that the person driving a car is responsible for what is in it. Your only defense in that moment, on the side of the road, is the same defense it has always been. Do not consent to a search. Do not answer questions about contents you did not place. Do not guess. Do not apologize. Stay silent and let the lawyer do the rest in court. Chapter 7. What happened to Marcus? When the officer walked up to Marcus's window that Saturday afternoon, he did exactly what good officers do. He greeted Marcus politely, asked for license, registration, and insurance, and noted on his pad that the registration name did not match the driver. Then he asked the question, "Whose truck is this, sir?" Marcus answered honestly. "It belongs to my friend Eric. His mother is in the hospital. I am driving his truck out to meet him there." What happened in the next seconds was the difference between a 5-minute stop and a 5-hour stop. Marcus had Eric's phone number memorized and offered it to the officer immediately. The officer called Eric, confirmed permission, and verified the medical emergency in under 2 minutes. Marcus declined when the officer asked if he minded a quick look in the bed of the truck. He stayed calm, kept his hands visible, and said only what was legally required. The officer wrote Marcus a written warning for the taillight, handed back the documents, and told him to drive safe. Total stop time, 11 minutes. The reason it went that smoothly was not luck. It was that Marcus, without even realizing it, had done 4 things right. He had permission, he could prove it, he refused consent calmly, and he gave no extra information beyond what the question required. That is the entire playbook for borrowed car stops, and Marcus stumbled into it by being a decent person under pressure. Chapter 8. What every driver should do before borrowing a car. The lesson from Marcus is not that you should hope to be lucky. The lesson is that you should prepare in advance before you ever climb into a borrowed driver's seat. Because the difference between his 11-minute stop and a much worse outcome was preparation that took 30 seconds. There are 4 things you should do every single time you borrow a vehicle. Confirm the registration and insurance documents are physically present in the glove box. Save the owner's current phone number in your own phone before you start driving. Ask the owner directly if there is anything in the vehicle you should know about. Take a quick walk around the car to check for visible issues like lights, tags, and tires. These 4 steps take less time than warming up your coffee, and they protect you from almost every common borrowed car disaster. If the lights come on behind you, you will have everything an officer needs in less than 30 seconds. The owner can be reached. The documents are present. The contents are known. The car is in compliance. The stop becomes routine, the way it was supposed to be, because you turned a casual favor into a careful plan before you ever turned the key. What to carry home from tonight? The car in your driveway is not the only car you will ever drive. Life is full of borrowed keys. A friend in a tough spot, a spouse who needs a hand, a parent who trusts you with their car for the weekend. These moments are part of what makes us a community, and saying yes to them is part of being a good person. But saying yes without knowing the law is how good people end up on the side of a road, in a car they do not own, answering questions they were not ready for. You do not have to be unprepared. You only have to remember tonight. Confirm permission. Carry the owner's number. Know the documents are present. Stay calm at the window. Answer the car question in 1 clean sentence. Refuse consent to searches you did not authorize. And let the law do the rest. Marcus got home that night because 4 small decisions made before and during the stop lined up in his favor. You can stack those same decisions for yourself starting tonight with the next set of keys someone hands you. If this video helped you understand something you had never thought about before, send it to one person in your life who borrows or lends vehicles, a sibling, a best friend, a coworker who carpools. The next time the keys change hands in their world, they will be the one who already knows. And if you have not subscribed yet, this is the moment. Every week I break down another piece of the law that the average driver was never taught in plain English using real cases, so that the next time you turn a key, you are not the one guessing. You are the one who is already ready. Hit subscribe, turn the bell on, and I will see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep your hands visible, keep your words few, and drive safe out there.